Before you speak, since I'm told you're going to leave this meeting soon, I I I I, I want to salute the farmers on behalf of our organization and the trade union for making night into day.
Thank you, Gautamudi. Thank you very much. So I'm starting now, Malik.
Yep.
Should I start?
Yes.
Okay. So how much time? How much time for me?
As long as you want to speak, because you're in a hurry to leave, so it's up to
Okay.
you.
Okay. So friends, congratulate to all of you that on 19th of this month, November, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced early in the morning that his government is going to repeal those three laws which they framed last year in the month first week of June. As you know that the farmers of India, they were struggling and are struggling on the borders of Delhi since last 1 year. Also, along with the three repealing of these three laws, the farmers' unions have had already raised the issues of minimum support price to the crops to all the farmers. Number two, number three, we raised the issue of privatization of the power sector, that is the Power Bill 2020 to be repealed. And fourth, while the air quality bill for the NCR Delhi is being framed, was being framed at that time, we asked the government to remove the clauses relating to the farmers. As for farmers, there was a punishment for 5 years and 1 crore rupees punishment for the farmers who will be booked for the pollution of the air surrounding Delhi. So on those four issues, we started movement in Punjab first. Now, previously also, under the banner of All India Kisan Sangharsh Coordination Committee, AIKSCC, we were fighting for our remunerative prices of our crops. That is, we were asking for minimum support price, which we were calculating and are calculating that their cost of production, which we calculate as a formula C2 plus 50%. So we were fighting on one issue was this MSP and the other was freedom from indebtedness. So those two issues we were fighting, but suddenly during the corona lockdown period, the government of India came with three ordinances on 4th of June 2020. So on 4th of June, then when these ordinances were promulgated, we immediately started studying them. We immediately discussed with them economists, agroeconomists, political scientists, and we came to know in one sentence that by framing these laws or by implementing these acts, the government is trying to hand over our land, our markets, our labor, our produce to the corporate houses of India and corporate houses of the world. So, in that sense, the farmers of Punjab, first of all, they came on the streets, and I am trying to tell you, my dear audiences, that how this movement started. So farmers in the Punjab, they were in say 3 dozen numbers farmer unions are there in Punjab. So in the start, we were struggling in a fragmented way. But on September 20, 2020, all the farmers of organizations of Punjab, all the farmer union, they came to one under one banner, which we nowadays call 32 organizations of the Punjab. So those 32 organizations, they started a struggle first in Punjab. For example, we did a great mobilization of the Punjabi people. We mobilized all the political parties of Punjab. We pursued all the religious institutions and individuals of the Punjab. We pursued all the cultural activists, singer, writer, to come in support of the farmers movement. And a atmosphere was built that a party which was part and parcel of the Modi government, that is the Shromani Akali Dal of Punjab, its lone minister in the government, she was compelled to resign from the central government ministry. Secondly, the party itself has to break its relations from the central government, that is NDA. So that was the first, I say, the polarization which showed its results by the movement. So then, when this whole polarization has taken place, then we gave a call. We gave a call on 1st October. We got a invitation from the government, central government, to have talks. We refused them, that we won't meet if the higher officials like Minister of Agriculture don't have a dialogue with us. We won't have a dialogue with the secretary level in the Indian government. So that is a bureaucrat of the central government, agriculture secretary. So we refused that. On the other hand, we gave a call in Punjab that first, all the rail tracks, because railway department is a department of the central government, controlled by the central government. We gave a call that all the railway tracks in Punjab will be blocked by the farmers. 100% railway tracks were blocked, and farmers sat down on the railway tracks day and night. Their community kitchen was there, they were sleeping there. So on 1st of October, the railways were blocked, coming into Punjab and going out of Punjab. All were blocked. 2. We gave a call that all the ministers of Bharatiya Janata Party BJP, the ruling party in Delhi, their leaders and their elected representatives should be boycotted. They will not be allowed to go to the public. They will not be allowed to enter into our villages. They will not be allowed to have their political meeting. And along with that, the farmers union unitedly, they sat in front of their houses and offices. That was the second point. Third was, as there is a punishment like taxes, road taxes, toll taxes, but that is known in the Punjab. The people of Punjab were very much, they were feeling punished while paying the toll tax on the roads. And on the 1st October, we declared that we will open the toll plazas on the roads of Punjab. That nowhere in the Punjab the toll tax will be collected by the private agency or the government agency. Third, the fourth was that all the services and goods of the two corporate houses of India, which are close to Narendra Modi ji, Adani and Ambani, their products and their services will be boycotted in Punjab. And in lieu of that, we closed the petrol pump, gas pumps of the Reliance. We blocked the shopping malls of the Reliance. The big godowns or big silos, they were blocked by the farmers. So this was one against the central government, one against the tax, other against the political party known as BJP, and fourth against the corporate houses. So four-pronged struggle started in Punjab from October 1. Before that, we had huge mobilization in the form of tractor rallies, vehicle rallies, handing over memorandum to the elected MLAs and MPs, and sending open letter to Prime Minister Modi, and all the in this scenario, if I can say, the whole Punjabi society was moving with farmers' strength in the center. So then came the period when the Punjab organizations met in Delhi with other organizations, and there they declared that they will march towards Delhi on 26th and 27th of November on these four demands which I have already enumerated. So in Delhi on 26th and 27th of October, there the farmers from all India unions and farmers from Punjab, they sat together and they concluded that we will jointly, unitedly march towards Delhi on 26th November. That was a historical development, historical day when the farmers' organizations from all over India decided to march toward Delhi on 26th November. The another historical day which happened, that was on 9th of November, when the 7th of November, when again the remaining unions from other states of India, other provinces of India, I can say now on 7th of November, we the representatives who were holding meeting, we were representing more than 500 farmer union of India. So there a banner born which was given the name of Sanyukt Kisan Morcha, means Joint Farmers Front. That Sanyukt Kisan Morcha came into shape, came into existence on 7th of November when we announced a 7-member coordination committee of that particular morcha, Sanyukt Kisan Morcha. So after 7th of November, we started our preparations of marching toward Delhi. So in Punjab first, the farmers with their tractors and trolleys, they were determined that we have to reach Delhi. Before that, we applied for a big Maidan, big ground where we could have our rally, congregation, where we could have our farmers program. But the government refused, denied. So the farmers were in a very angry mood. Farmers were in an angry mood that Punjab farmers have a historical and religious mind which is opposite to the opponent of Delhi. So all these factors, all these institutions, all the individuals, all the sections of people of Punjab, they determined that they will march to Delhi. Whatsoever the obstacle come on the way, they will remove. And when on 26th of November, the people from different parts of Punjab started their journey towards Delhi, they were stopped on the borders of Haryana. Farmers of India, along with youth in thousands, along with students in thousands, they marched towards Delhi, and at the borders of Haryana, they were stopped. But you see one other miracle on that day, what happened. On the other hand, on the other side, the farmers of Haryana had already decided that they will coordinate, they will cooperate with the farmers of Punjab, and they will unitedly move towards Delhi. So from adjoining district of Haryana, the farmers from Haryana, they came to the borders, where there were barricades. They took the barricades, they dismantled the barricades with their tractors, that they said, our brothers from Punjab, let us move together towards Delhi. So that was great event. I have seen that with my own eyes on 26th of November. So on 26th of November, the Haryana government, the adjoining state of Punjab, they tried to obstruct the farmers with tear gas shells, with water cannons, with big, deep, deep gaddas, we can say deep shell, deep, they made deep, what you can call that, by removing that upper crust of earth about 20 feet deep. They tried to make the farmer not to go ahead, but the farmers youth, they filled up those dozens of gaddas with their hands only. They took 3 hours and they marched towards Delhi. And on the borders of Delhi, they were stopped. On the borders of Delhi, again tear gas shelling, water cannon, and many things happened there. And the farmers reached the borders of Delhi on 27th. 26th they stay on the way at Panipat, Karnal, and 27th day. Then started the history of the march of our Andolan, march of our program on the borders of Delhi. When we reached Delhi border, you see what the government was doing. The Home Ministry sent a message to the farmers organization. You can enter the Delhi, we will give you a safe passage. But at that time, now the farmers organization leaders, they held a meeting, they denied, refused that no, we will not enter Delhi. We will surround, we will seize now Delhi from all sides. Delhi was seized at the sixth border. Delhi was seized on 27th, and at some borders, say Jaipur, it was blocked after a week. So that is what happened, say, in the month of November, and prior to that. Then start the journey of our Andolan at the borders. Now on the borders, we were many a time the government of India tried to made many adjectives about us. They tried to defame us. They tried to make us that they are the Khalistani, they are the agent of Pakistan, they are Mawalis, they are Maoists, etc., etc. So, and sometimes they try to say that they will be forcibly taken out from these places. But finally, the farmers settled down. They made their houses, their temporary houses. Tents were erected, and the neighbors of Haryana cities, they cooperated very much. They gave us shelter, they gave us water, they gave us places, they gave us clothes, many things. So for 3-4 days, after the 3-4 days, the farmers settled down on the border, and many community kitchens, they came on the place from the religious communities, particularly from Gurdwaras. They came with large sizes of community kitchens. So then started the game of negotiation with the Modi government. I can tell you that before coming to Delhi, we had 2 meetings with the government of Delhi, but both the meetings failed. And in the second meeting, which was perhaps on the 14th of November, in that meeting, we very clearly said to the 2-3 ministers that now you can resolve this issue. If you don't resolve this issue, you have to face the very serious consequences, and that for that you will be responsible. So Then another 9 meetings happened with the government up to 22nd of January. So 22nd of January was the last meeting when the government withdrew itself, and the meetings after that no meeting was held. But on 26th of January certain events happened in the Delhi. Some of the farmers went to the Lal Killa, and there was a strong confusion erupted in the Morcha, and there was a setback which we could fulfill, which we could repair only after 27th, 28th or 29th of January. 3 days took it. The people from Haryana and Punjab and Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, they again started pouring in to the borders, and huge crowds came to borders after 29th. Then the only thing, we always had our meetings, all the farmers leaders sat together every once in a week. They decided with consensus. They gave the calls like Bharat Bandh. They gave the call like Rail Roko, road blockade. They gave the call march to the provincial secretariat. Many such calls were given, and finally a call was given Bharat Bandh 3 times, and a parallel parliament session in front of the Delhi Parliament. This was going on, and we were planning to have a march to the Parliament of Delhi. We had planned on 29th of, yani tomorrow, we had planned a march on tractors to the Parliament of Delhi. But before that, on 19th, because another thing I want to share here is that there were taking huge public meetings, rallies in the states of India. People were gathering, huge great meetings were taking place, and large number of people were participating in that. Also, there is a election coming in the adjacent states like Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Punjab, Tripura. So the government was also grilled in this political battle of the elections in coming days, in just in the month of February. On the other hand, we were sitting on the borders. On thirdly, we were planning a march to the parliament. But suddenly on 19th November in the morning, Prime Minister and his government, who were regularly saying us that you can get some reforms done in the 3 laws, but we won't repeal them. On 19th, they repealed. Modi ji announced it. These 3 acts are: number 1, the APMC markets network or the structures, agriculture produce market committees. There is a strong network in some of the states. They were going to dismantle it. They were going to hand over it to the corporates. Number 1. Number 2, the contract agriculture. The contract agriculture is already, there are many state legislatures in which there is a contract agriculture already there. But the center government wants to centralize these whole institution, that they framed a law, because APMC was also the law of the states, contract agriculture was also the law of the states. Third, the law already of the center, Essential Commodity Act. So the most important objection of framing these 3 acts was that agriculture is a state policy in the Indian Constitution. You must respect the Constitution. Center should not be allowed to frame the laws regarding agriculture. So that is the constitutional expert. They gave the examples from the Constitution that center can't frame laws regarding the agriculture. So first was this. Second, its implementations were so bad for the farmers that we educated our farmers. The farmer unions came together, people of India came together, worker unions, trade union platform of the huge 10 trade union centers of India. From the day one, they supported the demands of farmers. They participated in the actions. On the on the very day, the farmers gave a call for maybe Bharat Bandh or road block or rail block. So, trade union platform, women organizations, other workers organizations, agriculture worker unions, and many such other associations, they've supported this movement, and in a way, it was looking that the political basis of the Modi government or the Modi's party, BJP and allied parties, is being pulled by the farmers movement, and the people are taking more and more strength in their minds to fight against the fascistic rule of Narendra Modi ji. So when all this was happening, the Modi ji came with the repealing of 3 laws which happened on 19th. Now we, Sanयुkt Kisan Morcha, has postponed our 29th action. We are still sitting on the borders of Delhi. We are saying on 21st of this month, we wrote a open letter to Prime Minister. Prime Minister ji, you have repealed these 3 laws. We are very happy, but we welcome this your declaration. But we had already told you that we had other 3 demands which we placed very first day with your government. Number 1. Number 2, during this agitation, during this Andolan, we have lost about 700 farmers. We have lost 6 farmers who were killed by the bullets of the bullets and the mowing down by the car of the son of the Home Minister. 2, we are framed with the the farmers have been framed with many, say, cases, criminal cases. Only in Haryana state only, there are 48,000 cases. 48,000 farmers are booked under criminal cases, and these issues are there. And also the punishment to the state home minister for his son's involvement in killing the farmers in a conspiracy case is there. So these are the issues, 7 issues more, and minimum support price and other issues which I have already told you. So along with these issues, you come out and send an invitation to the farmers, unions, representatives, and let us clinch on those issues. Then the farmers can go back to their houses. But till today, the central government has not come up with any invitation. So in the last day's meeting yesterday, we have postponed our parliament march to 3rd of December. On 4th, we will be holding the Morcha, Sanयुkt Kisan Morcha's meeting, joint farmers fronts meeting, and in that we'll decide whether to change any form of action or to continue with this form of action. So this is, I think, I can say about the farmers' issues, its genesis, present situation. I think I have spoken about more than 30 minutes. Now over to Mr. Naim Malik. Thank you very much, everybody.
You got time to answer some of the questions?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I think first of all, can I call Shira in? I think he's going to put you some questions briefly. Shira?
Band kar.
Shira, unmute yourself. Okay, I think a couple of people have asked questions. Can I ask Radha D'Souza to ask questions while we're waiting for Shira?
Okay. Thank you for that, Darshan Paulji. It was good to hear you directly from the horse's mouth, as they say. My question is very simple, and it has to do with solidarity actions, because we have done a number of different solidarity actions, including talks and with university students, etc., etc. And there are many organizations that want to come out in support of the farmers' struggle in India. For example, the Crofters Union in Scotland, and they are a very, very good, solid, grounded, militant union of, people of the land in Scotland. They have been asking us, what would you like us to do? We are happy to pass a resolution, etc., etc. Now, the question I have for you is, we need somebody from the Samyukta Kisan Morcha to whom we can send this stuff, because if we just pass resolutions here and nobody knows about it, it's of no use. And there are many videos that we have because of all the talks that have been recorded. We would really like to share those with people back home. So I'm just wondering, is there a contact person or best way of doing this? And are resolutions useful for you? If Farmers Union in Northern Ireland passes a resolution, is that going to be of any help to your struggle? That's my simple question.
Dr. Darshan, can I take one more question before you answer?
No, let me answer. Radha, you can send these all your views and resolutions and videos to me. I have written my email in the chat box.
Okay.
So you can send it to me, please.
Okay, I will do that now.
Ravi, you want to ask a question? Ravi? I'll move on to Lekpal. Lek, you wanted to ask a question? I think the question Ravi was asking is, in this, are we forgetting the land workers, the landless peasants, and the Dalits, and what's their position, and how is the farmers' movement relating to them? Do you want to answer that, Dr. Darshan?
Yes. Should I? No. See, landless laborers, sharecroppers, and landless farmers, they are there in our society. They have their own unions, and we have always been in a united activity with those unions on the issues common to both of them. But you see, if these issues, MSP, for example, Power Bill 2020, we can have a common minimum understanding. On the Essential Commodity Act, we can have a common understanding. So they supported our movement, and in their movement, whenever there is a movement, we support them. We had a solidarity with them, and also we almost in Punjab particularly, I will like to tell you in Punjab, because Punjab farmer unions and agriculture worker unions are very strong. So in that Punjab, we had always common issues of both the sections and common struggles against the Punjab government, particularly Punjab government.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Balji. No, I appreciate that, and I think we need the common struggle against this. But my concern now is that, a lot of the farmers might go home and think we've got the law, and they forget to look at the conditions that the Dalit laborers face in Punjab villages, social boycotts, sexual exploitation, marginalization. So these are big issues. Technology is going to force a lot of these people out of work. So my concern, and a lot of the Dalit communities, what is the farm unions doing to help the most marginalized landless workers? Because there has to be concern for the workers along with the farmers as well. So we can't ignore the workers from me. But thank you for your reply.
Sheila, can you come in now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Hello, Darshan ji. Last Lami.
Last round.
I just want to ask a question. Once this agitation is over, would the Kisan unions, the 32 Kisan unions in Punjab, will keep working together after this agitation, which I feel on the people of Punjab and people across the world, it's only your unity in action that you have got where you have got now. Thank you.
No, elections are coming in Punjab so far as I could understand the question. I think union should remain united on the farmers' issues, social issues, and other issues related to the community and the society. But I think on the political participation in the elections, there are different views of the different unions. So I don't think on that agenda there will be unity. On that agenda there can be unity, there cannot be. So for my understanding is that they should not get themselves divided on the issue of the elections or forming the government. Is it okay? Was this the question?
Yep, that's fine. I
Yes,
think
yeah.
I've got one final question from Ranjit. Ranjit, can you ask?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, Darshan Palji, first of all, I want to thank you for demonstrating a united front to defeat the Modi bills, and I really want to sort of thank you for standing against the government on a united front. What is important to me, as we have links in Punjab, historical links and also family links, and also what I want to try and do is actually support this revolution from the UK, and I just want to know how the best way, or what we can do to unite and support you globally, because we need a revolution in India to bring it in line with the Western human rights. Although to bring a better quality of life for people in India, and I think you've demonstrated that it can be achieved by uniting and fighting against injustice. So I just want to know how we can cooperate with you guys in India to actually bring about this wholesale change. And I think you need to affiliate, like the TUC government in TUC unions in the UK have affiliated to the Labour Party. I do think you need to affiliate with a political party, such as the Aam Aadmi Party, who have done a lot of brought about change in Delhi. I don't think by you standing alone you will achieve anything, any sort of gain in political muscle. So I just want to ascertain, A, how do we help you globally, and B, what we can do together to actually bring about change.
Ranjit, I think it's a big question. First of all, you can help us while we are fighting and struggling by extending solidarity actions in the UK. Number one. Number two, passing resolutions, having demonstrations, and participating in the debates of the issues which are being raised by the farmers of the India. Number two, your suggestion, thank you for your suggestion, but we here in India will think that whether we have to get ourselves affiliated to some party or not, We'll discuss over it. Thank you very much for the research.
Hey, love. Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
Thank you very much, Dr. Darshan, for joining
Nice.
us.
Okay, thank you. Namaste, Sat
well,
Sri Akal.
Have a good
Sat Sri
journey
Akal.
back, and hopefully
Namaste,
we'll
Sat
speak to
Sri
you
Akal.
again.
Sorry,
Lots
give me
love.
1 second. I'm just gonna zoom.
Can I leave, Naim, now?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
you can.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much,
very much.
everybody.
But can we all show our appreciation by usual
Thank you.
methods, and everybody
Thank you.
muted? Okay. I think
Anji.
Dr. Darshan has left us, and we've had a good introduction to what's happening in Punjab, in India, in terms of the farmers. So can I now ask Shira to give us a brief of what Shira is the president of the Indian Workers Association, and his organization has actually been supporting the farmers for some time. So can I ask him to give a brief overview of how he sees we can help the farmers from here?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. My name is Shira Jal. I'm from Birmingham and Central Branch of the Indian Workers Association. We have been actively campaigning or protesting against the Modi government and in support of the farmers. We had several demonstrations here in Birmingham outside the Indian consulate. Today. And we had one yesterday on the 26th outside of Shahid Hamzan's welfare centre in support of the Kisans. We also went from Birmingham, our branch. We also went to Glasgow when Modi was there, I think a couple of weeks back. So we actively are participating. We are also members. We have also financially we have sent support to some of the, not to the Sangyukt Kisan Morcha in Delhi, but some of the local Kisan organizations in Punjab, which are actually at the ground level. When you talk about the struggle, it's a struggle which has to be community-based, and logistically, it's from the sports at the grassroots. That sport has been contained and maintained at the borders of Delhi. As I said, a rotation that people go back and people come back, and people are organizing food, sending trolleys, and also that was sort of the basics, that sort of similar thing that we were trying to do here and support the farmers. And I think it's very important that politically that we support the farmers, especially what's happening, demonstrations, especially happening in London or in Birmingham, has a big impact on the Modi government. Because one thing that they don't like, because in India, the media is basically controlled by the Modi media. They control all the media and stuff like that. Everything that they try to demonize the Kisans and all that. I think the social media has been very effective in highlighting the Kisan and all them in India and across the world, which I think is very important. Thank you. I think I can leave it there for a minute.
Okay. I think I'll now invite the president of the Birmingham Trades Council, Ian Scott, to take over the running of the meeting from now on. Ian Scott, are you there? Ian?
We need to mute him.
I'll just check. I can't see Ian, so I think I'll continue.
He's muted.
Ian, are you there? Okay.
You have to
Unmute. Okay, Ian.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. A small technical problem, don't worry. Okay, have we got any questions for Shira?
I think we're going to move on to the other speakers, and we'll do Q&A after everybody has spoken.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we will. Is there a question for Shira at the moment?
No.
No, okay. Right then, can we then move on to the other speakers, please?
Can I ask ask a question or
No, I think we will have question and answer session afterwards.
Not a question. I just want to say that when Dr. Dashnapur was speaking, we heard about the background, but we didn't hear about the current situation with the Modi government.
Yeah, well, we will come back to that in Q&A. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we, Ian? Can we move on to the next speaker, who is Gautam Modi from the New Trade Union Initiative?
Okay, yeah. Gautam Modi. If you can unmute, please. Yeah, okay. Gautam. Okay.
Am I being heard?
Yep.
Yes.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I really mean it when I said to Darshan, farmers' unions have at a very dark moment, or perhaps the darkest moment of independent India's history, turned night into day. They've done the unthinkable. They've forced a government, an authoritarian, barbaric, bigoted, majoritarian government that actually seeks to take democracy apart, have forced it to bend. And bend quite seriously. This is an extraordinary movement of mass mobilization, an extraordinary grit, unbelievable courage, and sacrifice that has gone in to get where they have. And they're generous to say that the trade unions supported them, or for that matter, anyone else did. Yes, everybody did. But let's be honest, they got there because they did what they did with their strength and energy. This is what they've done actually opens up a moment of enormous hope in what I call the dark tunnel. It's a victory, enormous victory for parliamentary democracy, but also to remind everybody within the parliamentary arena that finally you can have even a brute majority in parliament, but cannot govern without the support of the people. Parliaments are made by people and will have to be run for them. It's an indication of what a strong, united front can do to influence Parliament from outside, reconfirming our understanding that the People's Movement is the true and permanent opposition to parliamentary democracy. Excuse me for that. I forgot to mute my phone. But above all, it's a victory for democracy. And I think this is a moment every one of us should stop to celebrate, stop to recognize what went into this success, and stop to learn from it, because this is an unparalleled movement that we've seen. Nobody in living memory can think of a movement so deep and so strong. Of course, I think there's something, and I'm tempted to respond to a lot of what's been said on the chat. I think we would be naive to believe that this is a substantive and significant turning point against an authoritarian majoritarian regime that seeks to do democracy. The little that we've seen of what they intend to place in Parliament tomorrow morning suggests the language is still one of abuse. Language in which they wish to call out those who stood up against them in a parliamentary bill. In a way, the farmers picked up some 10 months after citizens, notably mostly minorities, mostly Muslims, took forward the struggle for democratic rights of citizenship against the Citizenship Amendment Act and the National Register of Citizens in late 2019 and early 20, a movement that had to be stopped or was brought to a halt by the lockdown enforced through COVID. That too, we must not forget, was a movement that gave enormous hope. But I think importantly, very, very importantly, there are critical challenges that remain. What the farmers have won, and I don't belittle it for a moment in terms of what it has meant for the BJP to actually blink, for Narendra Modi to come on national TV and to come close to apologizing, is at the end of the day an economic arrangement. And we must not, I think, escape the fact that finally the protest was in the largest numbers led by and really held together by that section of the Indian farming community, which comes from the very small surplus earning farming community. The real challenge, if I may put it this way, still lie ahead. The real challenge lie on the 4 labor codes that were legislated alongside the day after the farmers' legislation went through in Parliament in September 2020, and the amendment to our Citizenship Act. In a sense, these seek to alter basic rights, the rights to natural justice, and the right to be a minority with equal rights within this country. In a sense, these are rights that challenge what I would call basic Republican values that we won with our independence. Our Constitution is a very wide document which defends human rights as we understand them, but also defends very strongly the right to property. But I think there were 2 critical issues which the left-wing movement brought to the table in 1947, which they brought through the working class movement, which was the right to natural justice and therefore the right of employees or workers over vis-a-vis employers, and the right to equal citizenship. At the height of the movement against the Citizenship Act, and then through the last year, we in the trade union have been asked, why is it that we don't see the trade union reacting the way the farmers have? That's an important question. And when I say I could actually well respond to some of what's on that chat, the farmers were able to unite with the center point being surplus earning farmers without quite, and this was in a way their power, without quite getting into the other issues, as Darshan Pal very eloquently said, that they come together on common issues with agrarian workers. And in fact, we said, and I'll put it out when I finish speaking, I'll share with you the statement we put out the night of the victory. The big question, it's not just about the labor codes and labor rights. The big question that remains unanswered, a question that was unanswered through the 1-year-long movement, the question some of us raised from their platform when invited to speak was the question of the wages of agrarian workers. That's a fundamental question of how you compute the cost. That's a fundamental question of how we might arrive at a guaranteed minimum support price. There is an enormous class differentiation between a section of the agrarian community and the working class community. There's, of course, in 70 years, emerged an even wider stratification within the working class, between employers, public and private, between town and country, between the upper castes and the non-upper castes, or the discriminated castes, religious minorities, men and women. These have indeed divided the working class movement. They've divided the working class movement is something which, as we learn at our expense, that actually capital is happy to pull up primordial social relations to keep maintain divisions within the working class. Finding unity within the working class on this scale is not easy to come by. It's going to require heavy lifting. It will not happen tomorrow with just one call. We've had more general strikes than any other country on this planet in the last 7 years. We fought more on the ground than anyone perhaps has. We've more workers out there demonstrating every day than perhaps in any other country today or in the last 5 or 6 years. The fact is, they do not add up. The working class is a very sharp reminder of the divisions and stratification within our society. At the end of the day, we're only fighting for our own strata. And that's something, as General Secretary of a national organization, in a way I'm admitting to, that we could very much have our membership fighting on one street for the minimum wage for garment workers and on the other street fighting for the minimum wage for domestic workers. The same union, the same organization. So in a way, what capitalism has succeeded in doing with the working class is dividing it infinitely into little boxes. I would add that the party political divisions have contributed to the atrophying of a united working class. And change will come when the united front is much wider than just one section of society, such as the farmers. Change is going to require a very large chunk of the working class to come to help bring it. At the end of the day, what global capital and the Indian bourgeoisie want is a chunk of India. 88% of India or more is non-agrarian. And I think that is something we cannot escape from. People might want a little chunk of Indian farming, but what they want is a chunk of India. And when labor rights have been attacked in the way they have, I think we must recognize that there's a much wider global coalition for those labor rights. And it's because of the stratification that we face, I dare say, perhaps the working class does not receive the kind of support farmers receive from the diaspora. There may be small organizations in the UK which support the working class movement, but beyond the UK, there's perhaps no resonance. Our support comes not from the diaspora, our support comes from international solidarity. It comes from other left-wing unions across the world. It comes from UK unions, not because of the diaspora, but because of their politics and their. I think these are issues which we must disaggregate going forward. But as our statement says, and I believe that to be very true, what we've seen was an extraordinary movement. And I believe we in the trade union have to learn how to build a sustained capacity for struggle. I think the farming community has taught us something over the last year, and we need to take a page out of their book. We salute them for what they did. We salute them above all for who they made bend and for what we hope we will learn from them.
Ian? Ian, can you unmute yourself? Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. Thanking Gautam for his excellent contribution. We now move on to Radha D'Souza. And she teaches law at Westminster University and has worked for labour movements in India. And after Radha, then we can have questions and answers. Okay, Radha, can you unmute, please? Technical problems.
Yeah, she's doing it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, she's done.
Okay,
I was not expecting to be speaking here, but as you have called out my name, I will. I just want to make a couple of remarks on our own experiences in the last year. But before that, I will probably, also say something about to the issues that Gautam has raised on the question of building solidarity, etc. I think one thing to recognize is solidarity doesn't just happen. It happens because people put time and effort and energy into it. And solidarity does not happen if we expect everybody to agree to everything we want or everything we believe. And I think that was the point that Ravi Kumar raised about caste issues, etc. While acknowledging caste and gender and all these things are very, very central, I think one of the successes of the farmers' movement can be attributed to the fact that they were able to keep the focus on the three laws and then build a unity based on just that one issue and able to manage, not that these issues did not crop up within the movement, not that these issues did not keep coming up, but the fact that they had a minimum program and they focused on that minimum program and then said, this is at this point in time, this is the issue that we are focusing on, and built their solidarity around it. It's no mean feat to bring 500 organizations together and to keep that unity for 100 for a whole year. And I think that is a significant thing to learn. And I think and we find this in trade union and the labor movements, especially that the identity of the union or the issue that they are fighting for various historical reasons in India, the union structure itself is so fragmented that you can't have, various things. But I don't think that it's also a question of striving to keep a focus and to see that at a given point of time, that one particular issue, for example, Gautam, in that labor code, bills, when they came and they were passed and roller coasted in a similar kind of way, the fact remains that the unions were not able to put aside their differences like the farmers did and say, we will just focus, have a national movement on withdrawal of the labor codes. And one has to ask that question because the labor codes were something similar. Lockdown was used as a facade just to, ram through something that was not even debated properly. And then it was just, things. So that was one thing. But coming home here, I think one of the things that has happened in the last year, if I may say so, is different people have done different things. And a lot of organizations, the Punjabi communities have done their own solidarity things. The other students have done their own thing. Then there are academics who have done their own thing. So there are all different kinds of things that have happened from different quarters. So I think for us in the UK, the question is there a possibility even of building a common kind of, a front, if you like, or a network, call it whatever you like, but an omnibus kind of network that we can respond to as a collective. Because one of the things that has happened as a result of this division is that in India, at least, the solidarity work has been largely by the government and by the media rubbished as, oh, these are all diaspora Punjabis coming to support their Punjabi, farmers, and that this whole thing is about Punjab anyway, which it is clearly not. It's not only about Punjab. There are issues at stake there which involve the for the whole issues for the whole country. And the solidarity has not come only from Punjab. There are a lot of other solidarities that have come, but they have just not been visible because there was no attempt to build some sort of network, in the UK, beginning with the UK here, and then possibly in other places. So I think those are my main points. The other thing is, I think one of the things that we are forgetting when we talk about this whole apology and withdrawal of the bills, etc., nobody has bought into it. Nobody is trusting Modi to really, be sincere at sincere things. But there are two things that one must make a note of. Who did he apologize to? And what was the apology, so-called apology, about? So if you notice, if you hear his speech, he did not say he was apologizing to the farmers. His thing was, oh, I am apologizing to the nation. Now, whatever that nation may be. And he did not say I was apologizing for the farm laws, for introducing farm laws without even talking to the farmers. On the contrary, what he was saying is that I apologize because I could not convince a small group of people about the benefits of this law, these laws. So to me, at least, it sounds that effectively he was apologizing to the Adanis and Ambanis for saying that, sorry, you had built all your silos, you had built all your grain storage facilities and come into contracts with Walmart and whoever else, but I'm really sorry that this did not work out. So that is how it sounds. That is the subtext, the way it sounds. So the reason I say this is that means this is not really over, and this is going to come back again, and it is going to come back in new forms, maybe with new strategies. The people in India don't believe him, and I don't think we should believe and think that, oh, everything is now fine and he has apologized and the farm laws will be withdrawn and everything will be fine. Far from it. So I think we also need to have a conversation in this country about how we continue to support and work together and see if there is some way of bringing a cross section of people who are in any case doing things in their own spheres. So I'll just stop there.
Okay. Thank you, Radha, for the excellent contribution.
I think it's Lek who wants to ask the next question.
Okay, yes, okay. I'm in a position to take questions and answers. Okay. Lek, unmute, please.
He's
Raise your
unmuted.
Yeah. Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Radha had just said, that the struggle doesn't just end here. The struggle is not just with the Indian farmers, it is a worldwide struggle, and we need to take it across the continents as well. And I did pose a question to Dr. Darshanpal, that there are moves afoot with the Indian government to introduce, that they will take back the laws in one move, but they will introduce it in another sophisticated move, maybe through state legislation or whatever. So this is a global struggle, which is an international struggle. And I am absolutely proud that the Indian people have taken this forward, and we need to make this into an international movement. So I am so grateful for you guys for hosting this event, and let us move forward. That's all I want to say.
Okay. Radha, you want to come back on that point?
Just very briefly, it is a global struggle, no doubt. And I think when Via Campesina was formed in the mid 1990s in the wake of globalization, it did start out as a global struggle, etc. But one should not forget that global struggles happen in particular contexts and places. And to me, the significance of this struggle is it is the largest pushback against globalization ever. It's not that other pushbacks have not happened. And it's not like others have not come out in support and networks have not happened. And, as I said, Via Campesina came out of some of those struggles and some of those things in the 90s and has continued. So, and this organizing against these kind of reforms in the agrarian sector has been there since 1995. I think in our last meeting, we talked about some of the history of this, how it relates back to the WTO and the Dunkel draft and various other things. But there comes a moment when I think things gel or come together for whatever reasons. And this is that moment, and one needs to recognize the historic significance of this moment. It is really the largest pushback against globalization ever in recent times, coming from absolute grassroots of people on the fields, whatever the composition of the farmers and all those kind of things, given all those things. The amazing thing is that in spite of those differences, they have kept together for a whole year, or more than a year if you start, the buildup started in June. So if you go back to that. And before that, if you look at the scenario in India, we had over 300,000 farmers' suicides since the WTO reforms began. 28 farmers commit suicide every day, according to research that has come out on recent times. So this is a complete turnaround of that. But the causes that led to the farmers' suicides and this one, they are not unrelated. But it turns the whole mood from suicides to struggle is a huge turnaround. And I think that is the significance, and we should really, appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Gautam may want to come back.
Gautam, yes.
I'm happy to hear more voices before I come back. Maybe I can speak for a couple of minutes at the end.
Okay, yeah. Can I just say a couple of things? I think one of the things we need to bring in terms of commonalities between what's happening in Britain, for example, or even in the Western world, this whole idea of actually corporatizing various social services like the National Health Service in Britain. I think so there's a common struggle against this neoliberal regime that's being imposed on us through WTO and the World Bank and everything. So I think, we've got a lot to learn from what the Indian farmers have been able to do. So is there anybody else who wants to ask a question?
We'll have
their hand.
Ravi Kumar. Ravi Kumar. Okay. Can we unmute? Oh, can you unmute him, Naeem?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you, Naeem. Some great contributions there, and I was just thinking about some of the points. I mean, Gautam made earlier about the problem with Indian movements and Indian societies is they often struggle for their own strata, and what I personally think is missing in this whole movement, and I totally agree with what Radha just said. This is the largest mobilization we've seen in recent years. I mean, to have so many farmers come out from suicide to struggle is a fantastic achievement. But I still see, as an outsider here in the UK, that it's focusing on their own strata. It's all based around the farmers. A lot of the narratives you're having around the channels, which are dominated by the Sikh organizations here in the UK. It's all about farmers, this, farmers, you know, it's not about humanitarian values. You know, it's not about solidarity, right? And this is what's missing. I mean, I've tried to set up a united front here in the UK as well, and over the last couple of years. And what I find that, and I've had this actually as an instant or two, when I've raised issues about caste discrimination, because I will always do that. I will never stop talking about caste discrimination because it's a reality. We have to live this. You know, I've had a few colleagues say to me, no, you don't want to talk about that. Let's talk more about class solidarity, or, you know, and they sweep it under the carpet. And what I'm saying though is, until these type of movements start to address the needs of other marginalized groups and to raise the voice of the downtrodden, the workers, the farm workers, and, you know, the so-called low castes, you know, and what's happening with Dalits, you know, and with women, then it's going to eventually fizzle out. It's not going to be long lasting. It's not going to be sustainable. And this is my fear, really. And, you know, what I don't want, you know, personally, I wouldn't want all the farmers to, all this kind of revolutionary activism now is to just dissipate. And it goes back to business as usual, because it can't be business as usual, because, you know, we know what the situation is in the Punjab, especially with farmers and farm technology. And that's my fear. What I'm saying is I don't want it to go back to business as usual. How can we create this mass movement? And from what I'm seeing, I'm not sure it's going to go there. I don't want it to. I do want us to, you know, start looking at the issues that affect us all. But that was my point. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who wants to ask a question? I think if while we're waiting for people to ask, can I just share a few minutes of a film that marks the farmers' struggle? It will only take a few minutes.
Hello?
Can you hear it?
No.
No.
Can you see it? Okay, I think I'll stop this. Can you hear it now?
Yes.
Okay.
ਤਾਰਾ ਸਰਗੀ ਦਾ ਚੜਿਆ ਨੇਰ ਅੰਦਰ ਵੱਜੀ ਹੱਕ ਤੇ ਸੱਚ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਮੀਆਂ ਜੋਣ ਜੋਗਿਆਂ ਕਰਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਪਾਏ ਚਾਲੇ ਇਹੋ ਇੱਕ ਸੁਲਖਣਾ ਕਾਜ ਮੀਆਂ
ਅਫਸਰ ਹੋ ਆਪੋ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਟਰਾਲੀਆਂ ਕੋਲੇ ਇੱਕ ਦੋ ਵਲੰਟੀਅਰ ਲਾ ਕੇ ਰੱਖੋ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਰਾਰਤੀ ਬੰਦੇ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਰਾਰਤ ਕਰਾ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ ਚੌਕਸ ਰਹੋ ਆਪੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਦੋ ਦੋ ਤਿੰਨ ਤਿੰਨ ਵਲੰਟੀਅਰ ਰੱਖੋ
जुर्मे इश्क पे वो गुनाहगार चले जिन्होंने वतन का इश्क सी आजाद कराउंदा शायद वो लोग चले गए
दोस्त नौजवाना का है और सिन बाबा जी का बुजुर्गा का ये पीछे नहीं हटाएंगे। सबसे बड़ी सीरियस बात तो यह है ऊं तो लाले बापू का सामान दिया गया गान दिया गया वो देश ने दे दिया तो मानना ही पड़ेगा इतना बड़ा आदमी लकी में तो तजुर्बा हो भी फिर सबसे बड़ी बात तो मैंने ओड़े लग गया भगत सिंह और तो नौजवान जिसने बलिदान दिया है न्यू सुनना में आया कि देश तो बेच दिया टोटली सब कुछ हर महकमा भेज दिया अपना ये आप इन तीन कानूनों का पास पढ़ रहे हैं केवल तीन ना है लेकिन उसके बाद इसको चुकर दो भी तो और भी कानून है वो भी तो बिक गए केवल अपना इन तीन ना तो काम कौन चलता देश का गुलामी तो होगी पक्की
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸੁਣਦਾ ਵੀ ਭਾਈ ਲੜਾਈ ਚੋਂ ਕੱਢਿਆ ਕੀ ਆ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਵਧੀਆ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਲੜਾਈ 'ਚ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੇ ਵੀ ਸਰਟੀਫਿਕੇਟ ਲੱਗ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਚੱਲੇ ਆਇਆ ਵੀ ਜੇ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਰਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੇ ਗੋਲੀਆਂ ਗੋਲੀਆਂ ਚਲਾ ਕੇ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਏ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਖਾਵਾਂਗੇ
ਬੱਚੇ ਛੋੜ ਕੇ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਰਾਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਣੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਗਏ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਚਿਰ ਇਹ ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਰਾਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਣੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੱਠਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਗਰ ਫੇਰ ਆਈ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਰਾਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਣੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਹੈਗਾ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਮਗਰ ਭੇਜਣਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਿਰ ਤੇ ਕੱਪੜੇ ਬੰਨ ਕੇ ਆ ਗਏ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੋਗਰ ਇੱਕ ਪਾਸਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹਿੱਲ ਕੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਬੈਠਣਾ
ककर वरदात पिया नी थारा नहीं डोल दी सूरे दी जात मिया गुरुआ बबरां ते भगत सराबियां दी चढ़दी रूहां चोची परवाज़ मियां हो
मैं जब आऊँगा जब वैसे आंदोलन को खत्म होगा जब काले कानून बहुत जो देंगे ना उसके बाद ही करूँगा ये बात या तो अपनी लाश जाएगी करे क्या यार क्या करें हमारी नस्ल बोल देंगी बर्बाद हो देंगी क्या करानी
So I just wanted to share this to show the enormity of what the farmers have done, I think. But we can continue with the question and answer now. So people raise their hands.
Okay. Put the little blue hands in the participants box, please. If you can raise your hands in the participants box.
Okay, can I just comment?
Yep.
Oh, go on, H. Go on.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on what Ravi said earlier on, and he has raised a very important question. the link between the farmers and the farm laborers, you know, and there is a huge, I'm not sure I'm using the word correctly, but the dichotomy, I'm not sure quite how I'm using the word correctly, but there is a huge contradiction between the farmers and the farm laborers. And in this movement of the farmers, you know, the farm laborers have given their, perhaps not 100%, but given their total support to defeating the Modi government's laws. And the question, I think, which is belying Ravi's contribution is, when will the farmers actually support the anti labor laws that have been introduced through legislation by the Modi government? So it is a very much a question of tit for tat, and so if the laborers have supported, giving up their daily wage, laborers have to give up their daily wage and go to the Singapore border and whatever border, and what can they expect in return? This is a huge debate, and I'm glad that Ravi raised that debate.
Okay, Ian, nobody's asking any more questions, so we can move on to asking final statements from the two speakers that are still here.
Okay, will Gautam like to start off?
Gautam?
Gautam, if you can unmute. Oh, technical problems.
Unmute yourself.
Unmute
yourself, Gautam.
Gautam.
Unmute yourself. Yeah.
Oh God.
No, again, you're muted.
Yeah. Oh dear, technical problems.
It's because the time delay causes a problem.
Yeah. Okay. I'll
unmute.
Gautam, can you unmute? No. And I can't ask him to unmute either.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Radha, would you like to start off? And I'll send a message to Gautam. Okay.
Has he been muted centrally by you, Naima?
Yeah, he has. He has. He's there now.
Okay, Gautam.
Well, I wouldn't unmute myself. I wouldn't mute myself until I've spoken. But I saw a message which said, just 1 second, which said Shira has his hand up.
Oh.
Well, we can't see if the videos are switched off.
Shira, do you want to speak?
Shira?
I'll try and unmute him.
Yeah.
Okay. He's been set an invite to unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just a contribution. I think there's lots of lessons that we can learn from this farmers movement. How, because I was in India during that time during the lockdown, and most of the first protests that started was actually on top of rooftops and during that period, and slowly they come off onto the streets. And the thing is, how come this movement was really built? The question is that most of the trade organization, the farmer organization, particularly on the left, has very strong cadre, and they have done a lot of work amongst the peasants, amongst the farmers over the last 30, 40 years. So they had that base. That's why they were able to sustain and maintain that that community-based kitchens and everything at the borders of Delhi. And these are the lessons that we've got to learn. And also what the farmers were able to do, the union, was to bring together in the sport the smaller trades organizations, the small tradespeople, the small shopkeepers into the sport, because they went to explain that all these, the big privatization, how it will affect food industry when it becomes into private hands, how it will affect the ordinary workers more than actually, you know, with the farmers. And these are the lessons I think we have to really learn, how we can work together, and how other organizations also need to, the trade unions also has to really to learn a lesson from the farmers struggle, how these farmers are and how they should be able to organize and build solidarity on big campaigns, as sustainable campaigns, to come out in the streets and in mass protests. And these are important. We can't just say, okay, because the farmers, what you got to understand is the farmers, the unions, they have their own, not say own agenda, they have their own constitution, how they fight this and that. But some of these, most of these farmers organizations, particularly on the left, they also have their, the trade union wings, the working class movement. Because I remember not long ago, there's a massive rally with thousands of people, 7 trade union organizations from the left came together and held a massive rally. Even today, there was a massive rally being held in Punjab with the trade unions and other people who are coming together. So I think these are lessons that we have to learn. If you remember the CEA in the partners in Delhi against the immigration, against Muslim, a lot of the farmers from certain groups, they actually went to Delhi in the thousands to support that campaign. And in return, a lot of Muslim farmers from Lekota, from Punjab side, actually went onto the borders of Delhi, and they started their London and sport. See, these are sort of the sense of unity sometimes you feel. There's these people who come out for us ourselves, and that we should need to support them as well, and build this coordination of networks with each other. So like even in the working, that they have their own organizations, that they have their own constitution, that this is the issues when we fight on. The farmers have their own issues. I think this is a lesson. Every organization, Dalit organizations or the minority organizations, they have to learn these lessons from the farmers, how to conduct effective and to as a struggle. And the other thing, the last thing I want to say is, this has been a very big victory. People say, you know, the fight's going to be long, the corporation very small, but the question is, Modi in 7 years has never bowed down, and the farmers' agitation has made Modi sort of, you know, as to sort of in itself be defeated in that sense. So this has been a very big victory, and also the victory for ordinary working class, where Muslims, Sikhs, Hindus, the left have come together in solidarity, and the Hindu Dabta of the Modi government, I think, has completely failed and collapsed. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Just a little information, Naeem.
Okay, I think there's no further hands. I thought there was one more hand, but disappeared. Can we move on? Can we move on to?
No, too much background noise again.
Can we move on to Gautam, please?
Okay, Gautam, would you like to do a summing up, please?
Yeah, thank you. You know, everything that happens in India is always the biggest. The BJP claims it's by a long shot the world's largest mass plant. My comrades in the CITU, the Center for Indian Trade Unions, would like all of us to believe that when there is a general strike in India, 200 million workers participated in that strike. I don't think we even visualize what a 200 million worker strike would look like if it really happened. The farming community, or the SKM, claimed that 88% of India was involved in agriculture and supported their movement. I don't think that tells me anything. I think we must recognize that a defeat of globalization, which just allows for the moment a continued arrangement for profit sharing, is not a defeat, is not a victory for equality or justice. I would like to, I've not come here to take down the farmers' movement, but if we really want to believe, I've spent much of the day in rain-swept Chennai in a town 50 kilometers from here, meeting our membership amongst women garment workers. They've stood out for farmers every time we've given the call over the last year. But they don't believe, as they told us today, that this victory is going to contribute in any significant way to improving their lives. And I have to accept that they're right. This victory is not even going to help improve the lives of farmers in Tamil Nadu or in southern India, where, whether we like it or not, farm law reform has already happened. I think we need to take a step back. This is not the 20th century where we must allow ourselves to be carried away by the symbolism of our victory. The symbolism of our victory is important to take the movement forward. But if we're looking for a sharp analysis of it, then I think we must look at it very realistically. And if it was said that what bothers some people in this room most about India is caste, let us not forget that not just was this movement dominated by one strata of surplus earning farming community, but actually by one caste, the Jats. But I again repeat, this movement has contributed in terms of experience, a richness that we all need to learn from it. However, to suggest that the Dalits could form a movement like this, comrades, the Jats won't support a Dalits' right movement. Let's face up to that. Let's speak to that. The trade union movement may indeed be stratified because divisions amongst trade unions. But the trade union movement is also stratified deeply because of a primordial and socially hierarchical society. The work you do, if I may say, Radha, is less than the work I do, because I come from a higher caste than you. The work I do has more value than you do because I'm a man, Radha. And these divisions do not go away. And these have thrown up a working class that's profoundly stratified, which we cannot. I mean, I would be the last person to deny the fact that there are divisions within the trade union. The fact is that there is a huge issue of dignity of labor in this society, or rather, there's an enormous challenge of the indignity of labor. It was actually a unified farming community from one geographical belt faced with similar situations of an attack on their income. They sustained it, but if I may say so, it was also whispered into my ear before I stood up to speak on their platform. Please don't bring up the issue of farm labor. It's been said in this room that what held it together was left-wing farming organizations. That's absolutely correct. And that's where we need the trade union, the progressive trade unions and the progressive farming community need to have a dialogue. Nobody is willing to sit and dialogue today in the SKM as a united SKM on the question of agrarian workers' wages. I think there are serious challenges that we face in this country, and I don't believe a common minimum program is the way forward. A common minimum program can only serve a set of interests, the narrow common interests of a certain group. And while we can learn from it, while we can take it as a symbol for short periods and build on it, unless we can build on a larger manifesto that enshrines democratic rights, that enshrines religious equality, that enshrines the right to natural justice, that enshrines the fight against the injustice of caste discrimination and every other form of discrimination in this land and in others. At the end of the day, the trade union movement, a progressive trade union movement, will not survive outside of democracy. And if it is said, fight for your labor code sans democracy, that struggle is not going to happen. It was the fight for democratic rights that actually gave shape to the fight for self-determination against colonialism and imperialism in this country as elsewhere. And I may sound very classical to some of you, but finally, if change has to come, the working class has to play that role. And the working class in this society, at least, will be able to play that role only when we can build a different level of bridges which recognizes social discrimination as being paramount, fundamental, and embedded in every sphere of this society. And that's going to take more heavy lifting than just what we've been through. I would want to stop by celebrating the farmers' movement for what it was, what it is, but also recognize that this is, if at all, a turning point. This is only the very, very start of that turning point. And there's an extremely long way to go if we are to build. We've advanced democratic rights to some extent over 70 years, but with very feeble democratic rights. And we have a long way to go. We have heavy lifting to do, and we have to build a genuinely progressive working class movement to get there.
Okay. Thanking Gautam for his contribution there. Can we now have Radha D'Souza, please? Radha?
I really don't have much to add because I think, yeah, it is a question of, for me, the call of the hour and the call of the future. Sometimes they come together, sometimes they don't. And, so for now, I think I would rather ask ourselves what we can do here, as diaspora Indians, as diaspora South Asians, to, prepare ourselves to support those kind of struggles which go across the continent and which is bound to carry on and bound to emerge because of the conditions there and because of the circumstances there. So just with that, on that note, I'll just stop there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can everyone unmute themselves, please, and give Gautam and Radha a big round of applause for their contributions today? Okay. Okay. Well, it's now 3:45 our time. There are no further questions. Two main contributions, they've done excellent contributions to which we do thank them. Can I wish on behalf
we have, I think Jagmohan Singh has joined us, and I'm wondering if we should ask him to make a comment of some kind.
Yes, Jagmohan, you want to say something?
Well, it will be my pleasure to address this August meeting because for last 3 days, I was at the Delhi border. We call it Farmers Front. Today, we have the next steps are being taken. I can just update you on that. Today in Ludhiana, there was a large mass rally of the people's movements of all kinds joining together how to take it to our rural side. Because this victory of the farmer is only a confidence building and really testing our own self. How could we go ahead? So that has been proven, and people are and one of the best remarks which I heard from when I was moving with the farmers sitting there. They said, we have been in a college, we have passed the diploma, now we have to work for the degree. That is the resolving our agrarian problems. So I think that's a big interest. And now the thought is that how to build people's agenda. P. Sainath has been with me, we are together. He has raised that actually the government committees will only be the committees of the lobbyist, because it is finally farmers have drawn a line that it is a battle against the corporate interest. And that was one of the joke was being shared, that when Prime Minister was saying he has been doing tapasya, actually he has been only counting the beads in the name of the corporate, but the real sacrificial work has been done by the farmers on the morcha. So that is which is there, and they are very serious about it, because now the main problem is the cost of production to be paid. It is MSP is not the only part, and at the same time how to address the agrarian situation. And P. Sainath has and his group, they call it a nation for farmers, come up that there should be a farmers commission. We should really examine the rural agrarian situation and put up the arguments for the resolution of that, whatever is available. And maybe most of our scholars sitting outside can also share their opinions in it and wait and make a proposal which is the farmers agenda, not corporate agenda. So that is what is, and at the same time, it was being resolved that at the village level, at least the education, not only making education available, but at the same time to make it a education which really educates or makes people, our children in a proper direction, because the one of the very small symptom that the Home Minister has addressed the governors, which is against the protocol of our constitution, because governors is directly responsible and listen to the president. But he advised them that it is your duty to implement the national education policy, which has never been discussed in any of the institutions which are democratic institution in parliament or anywhere, but it is being imposed. So the total education policy is being hijacked, and which virtually is making people or the coming generations away from any kind of rational thinking, or even to give them a capacity to do, but only making them a honored laborer. That's the old policy. So that is, and I was saying that to me it looked like the Secretary of State sitting in London is advising the viceroys over there. Then Home Minister is taking up that chance, and that is the very serious matter. The way, and the third point is that now our national advisor was advising the new police officers that our fourth war front, word used is the fourth war front is the civil society. And the other war is costly, but this is less costly. So suppress the, and he also defined that voting doesn't make democracy. Democracy is made by the representatives making the laws. So that type of mentality which is there, we are actually fighting with that also along with that. But I really heard that we have to work out, and this is actually a solution which the 60% of the rural population has to look for. And so we want that maybe we have a ground studies on the village level or on the block level. The large youth has been motivated to do and dedicate their time and life for that. And that reminds us, going back into history, of 1924, when Bhagat Singh's first initiative with his comrades was building a youth movement which was based on that the youth will clear from his mind any kind of communal feeling, any kind of caste feeling, and at the same time be scientific to the level that you try to find the cause of every problem. And the fourth was that the British rule is to be removed, is the removing of inequality. And the practical or the scientific solution to inequality is the socialism. But he said that along with brotherhood, the socialism will be built. So I think there is a basis, and this is how we are moving forward and trying to get into that confidence which has been built. And that confidence is now percolating into the labor movement also, which was virtually silent after having lost all their gains of the legal rights, which was in 24 different laws, has been reduced to 4 laws. And then again, the minimum wage price, the wage floor has been fixed at 175 rupees, which is much below the minimum wage which is there. So there are many problems. So today we had that the other movements can take a lead from this movement, and we are learning from that and going to strengthen. And the the part is that it is everywhere, because I traveled to Eastern UP, so it was building up there also. But the railways were so controlled that they didn't allow the public railways to move. The only railways which are flying these days is a pilgrimage railways. So they stopped all railways which you could connect. And that is how they were protecting Delhi also. And then they were saying this is only of these surrounding uh, provinces movement. But at the same time, the movements are taking. The other day, there was a mass Mahapanchayat in Bombay. There has been similarly happening in the south states also. So I think this is the time to, well, we will request you to put it that way, that how to rebuild on this confidence which has come up with the people, and they are re-energized, and they can be put to some task of rebuilding their own uh, about their being the master of their lives. That is one of the agenda we were today we being discussed, was that these political parties have really made it a market. They are just buying the voters by, one says I will pay 1,000 rupees to this section, the other say I will pay 1,500 rupees to. And this is a market. This is not in any way well, could be taken as the democratic process. So these things are, and people, let us hope that this gives rise to a new movement, and the confidence which has really been built is a vast confidence, and the revolutionary zeal which has been shown by those people who have just made those borders as their homes for these many years, and back home also, all those who got themselves sacrificed on the altar, their homes were as affluent, they were having more confident instead of feeling any kind of uh, disheartened out of those losses. So that way there is a ground, and on this ground, what next could be built, and that is the possibility there. So thank you very much for giving me the time.
Okay. Can we all thank Jack Moulton for his excellent contribution? Okay. I will be generous. Have we got a question for Jack Moulton? Anyone? Do we have a question? Lek? Lek, if you're going to mute, please, Lek. Lek, if you can unmute.
Yeah, he's unmuted.
Unmuted, okay.
I have a question for Jagmohan-ji. Amongst all this turmoil that is happening, how do you envisage restoration of democratic rights, given the very undemocratic environment that exists in India?
I think before we ask Mohan to come back on this, can Shira has got a question as well. Shira, can you unmute?
Yeah. Okay, Shira.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, it's not a question. It's one of the sisters says to organizing some kind of a united front here in the UK. Actually, we were trying to organize when we had a meeting yesterday for today, but we cancelled it due to certain reasons. But if people are interested, we are quite interested in the Work Association to build some kind of a united front in the diaspora here. That if there need to be, we can mobilize, we can organize any struggle that takes place, not just in India, because at the moment, because it was the farmer struggle, everybody's involved in that. Where we have in the past supported the South African struggle against apartheid, the Palestinian struggle and stuff like that. So we need that kind of a united front, I think, here amongst the Asian community, where if something does happen in India, we can quickly mobilize and expose the brutality of the Indian state.
Okay. And do we have Lek? Lek, did you want to raise a question?
No, Lek has raised the question already.
Yes, okay.
I think I thought I had already raised the question.
Okay. Okay. Jack Moulton.
My question, if you want me to repeat it, I can.
No, it's fine. Can we move to you, Jack Mohan?
Okay. Jack Moulton, would you like to reply to those questions, please?
Hello.
Bhagwant, you want?
Oh, yeah. It's only information that we are having a fundraising event for the farmers on 27th of December from 5 o'clock to 10 in Handsworth. So just make a note, it's 27th of December. We are, and a dramatist from India, he's playing a very good play about the farmers' struggle. So that's the one. And I'd like to give another information that's that actually good things already start to move. 5 farmers unions, one of them, if maybe not, is Jogendra Sagraha and Darshan Pal and Rajeva and Kulwant, their organization they are actually dedicated, and they made a statement they're going to help landless farm laborers to get their house built, plot for their houses. And there is a common land in villages, and they are going to share this actually land with the farm laborers. That's a very good actually step. They came out to support landless farm laborers. That's already started solidarity between workers.
Okay.
Jagmohan?
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm back, sir. That question of democratic rights is which we are fighting. That's actually my area of all this is the democratic rights. The restoration of democratic rights may come out of these struggles. Because as I say that on the governance mentality is to suppress the civil society as a war front. That the word used is that they are fighting the war against their own people for the corporate. And in that war, the civil society is being focused to, and that is why we will be virtually building up that voice, and that will be that as this pressure, because when this movement was there, though concerns were shown by some of the former organizations for that violation of democratic rights, but then was the focus be kept so that it could be brought to a conclusive level, and that conclusive level we have seen that finally the compulsion has been generated that these three laws, this is the second time in the Indian history. In 1907, the Viceroy was to withdraw the three laws because Bhagat Singh's uncle and his colleagues, Sajit Singh and Sufi Amba Prasad, and many more were fighting for the peace and society, and it was withdrawn. So I think this is a step towards restoring and securing democratic rights is also. So this, if that gains strength, that will also be restored over there. But at the same time, raising voice and will be required from all our people sitting in other countries that we should continue talking about that, and that is the basis on which the fight has to be taken over.
Okay. I'm thanking Jack Mohan for his contribution. We're now sadly running out of time. If we can thank Gautam, Radha and Jack Mohan for their contribution today. And okay, I can wish you safely now, wish you all a very good night, a safe night at home, COVID-free, and looking forward to meeting